So, for my controversial case study, I chose to do the 2009 Tori Stafford case. So, just a disclaimer before we start, this case brings up sensitive topics that can make somebody feel some sort of way. So, if at any time you need to leave the room or pause the video, do so. So, to introduce this case, it involves an abduction, rape, and murder of a young girl. In short, Terry Lynn McClintock and Michael Rafferty had brutally raped and murdered Tori Stafford of Woodstock, Ontario. I believe that this case is very important due to the fact that nobody ever thinks anything like this is going to happen around here. But unfortunately, it's a harsh reality for us. We never think it's going to happen somewhere close to here and that it's just going to happen in a war-torn country or a big city. But no, it happens. I believe that this case is quite significant since it's still fairly recent and that everyone still kind of knows about it, even though it's kind of recent but kind of not. I think that it's also important since there was a few controversial topics in here that have to do with the trial, like no Amber Alert and no proper search warrant for a couple of pieces of evidence against Rafferty. I think it's also greatly significant because everyone knew about it everywhere. So, to introduce Tori Stafford, she was 8 when everything happened and was born July 15th, 2000. She was active and loved to play soccer. She liked to go to church. She was described by many as having a heart of gold. Her favorite color was purple. She had attended Oliver Stevens Public School as a 3rd grader, and she had a Shih Tzu at home named Cosmo. To continue, a background of Michael Rafferty and Terry Lynn McClintock. They had met in Woodstock at a pizza shop and had sexual relations in Rafferty's car that same day. They had dated not too long after. McClintock was 18 and she had a rough past. Her mom was a stripper. She had criminal history. Rafferty was 28 and he idealized key aspects of the case like violence and sexual fantasies. He was listed as her boyfriend on her prison form, so that kind of shows how close they were to each other. And due to the nature of their crimes, in the media they were actually compared to people like Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka that we all know of. So there's about 3 parts to this case: an abduction, their travel time, and the actual crimes. So on April 8th, 2009, Tori was taken from her public school and was lured by McClintock to her car, which was at the Crescent Care Retirement Home. She lured her by talking about a Shih Tzu puppy that she had in her car. That car was seen on Oliver Stevens around 3 times that day. When Tori hadn't come home, the neighbors started looking for her, and she was reported missing at one point that day. When she was reported missing, though, there wasn't an Amber Alert issued for her, which is very controversial because as a missing child, that should have happened. The day after that Tori went missing, College Avenue Secondary School revealed video footage of Tori and McClintock actually walking towards the Crescent Care from Oliver Stevens Public School. During this time, McClintock was actually on the influence of some sort of drug, not really sure which one, but it was a drug. So from Woodstock, they drove about an hour to Guelph, where they stopped at a Home Depot around 5 p.m. that night. They bought several items, including garbage bags and a hammer. They also got Percocets, which is a type of drug. Tori was under a coat in the back of the car, very, very scared, of course. But McClintock was always telling her that it's going to be okay, nothing's going to happen, you are fine. Rafferty kept checking the radio as well at this time to make sure that there was no word of Tori actually being missing and to make sure that it didn't get out in the media. So from there they drove another hour, so about 2 hours of driving time at this point, to Mount Forest, where their last stop was. They stopped in a forest which wasn't too far from a local farmer's field. So what exactly happened here? Rafferty raped Tori, not once, but twice. McClintock told Tori that she was strong during this time, even though McClintock was outside of the car and letting Rafferty do whatever he pleased. Tori was a sexual gift to Rafferty from McClintock because she was so young and she was easy to manipulate at that point. After the second rape, McClintock had started to murder Tori with a hammer, and she proceeded to do this by covering Tori with a garbage bag first so she didn't exactly know it was coming. Obviously, Tori had suffered from multiple blows to her head and the rest of the body from the hammer and, the beating by the two of them. When she was presumed dead or unconscious enough not to move, they had buried her under a pile of leaves and left her there. They had then gone to clean out their car to try and remove any evidence that could have been left in the car from these crimes. So what exactly happened after all this? May 20th, 2009. Rafferty and McClintock were both arrested after thorough investigation of, who did what, right? They were both charged with the abduction of Tori. Rafferty was charged with the murder of Tori, as well as McClintock being charged with knowing that he was going to do this and enabling him to do this by not stopping him. July 21st, 2009. Fast forward about 3 months. Tori's remains were found where she was left by a local farmer. He was searching his field and forest because everyone was still looking for her at that point. This was 103 days after she was murdered. She was wearing only her Hannah Montana shirt and her butterfly earrings. This was her special outfit because, as we all found out, this was the first time that she was walking home by herself, and she was also going to have a special day at her mom's after that because it was her first sleepover with her friends. She was in obvious decomposition when she was found because she was left so long after she was murdered.